Huh. Okay, I don't know if you can see me or not. This is DearMamaSal, and I cannot see myself, which is very weird. Can you let me know, Jamie, if you can see me? In which case, the problem is just my side, not yours. In the meantime, if you can hear me, I hope. Yes, you can see me. Okay, so it's just I can't see myself, which probably is a good thing. Welcome, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and tonight, hi there, Jody, and also Isabel, who just let us know that she's downstairs painting the office with Daniel. He doesn't understand English, but that's okay. We're going to say hi anyway. So I am just hoping that this does record the video, even though I can't see it. I would think it will do. If you can see me, that's the important thing. All right, so we're going to be doing some talking around being in the right place at the right time. And, you know, so often we think our lives are taking us in quite the wrong direction. And, you know, you just need to have faith and know that somewhere in the big scheme of things, everything is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. And you are in exactly the right place, doing exactly the right thing for exactly the right reasons. So I thought I would start with something that I know you all wanted me to talk about, which is some famous actors who were in the right place at the right time. But before I get there, I wanted to make a couple of quick notes on viewers and so forth. Just let me get my notes up here. Because it's really, I didn't get an update from Erin, and Jody, if you did, please let me know. I also have not heard from Sherry since she had her heart operation, so I'm hoping that I will get to hear about that. For those of you who don't know, Beth lost Peanut this week. Peanut was close to 20, so Peanut, he had a great life, a long life, but he just didn't make it through this week. And I guess we just all are very grateful that he lived as long as he did, but the pain isn't any less for all of that. So for those of you who know Beth, just understand she's hurting quite a bit this week. You haven't heard from Erin yet. Okay, not a problem. Thanks for that, Jody. For those of you who don't know Jody, Jody is our admin. She really keeps me in line and, you know, is my second brain because my two brain cells quite often don't go in the right direction. The bit of news that I picked up today that I thought if you haven't heard it, you should. As Jody calls it, this is called SNN, Sal's News Network. And that is, do you know that a most incredible thing happened today, which is part of the ice shelf in Greenland cracked and dropped 11 billion tons of water into the ocean. 11 billion tons. That's how much water is going to be added to the oceans in one day. So tell me that climate change isn't happening. Amazing. All right, so let's get on to the good stuff. The good stuff is some famous actors who were in the right place at the right time and didn't even realize it. The first one I want to talk about is Mel Gibson. What is the first movie that you remember him from, I wonder? I'm pretty sure for most of you it would be Mad Max. He'd done a little bit of theatre in Australia, in Sydney actually, but he hadn't done anything in Hollywood at all. And the most peculiar thing was he actually took a friend of his, if you can believe this, he gave a friend of his a ride to the audition for Mad Max. And you're going to love this one. I don't know if you know this, but he'd been in a bar fight the night before. And so he was scarred, you know, and he was well bruised and he looked horrific. But he was there with his friend to audition. And the director, George Miller, happened to see him and thought that he actually would look great in that villain role. So they waited until his bruises and everything else had calmed down, had recovered from all of that, and then they had him come back and read. And of course, the rest is history. Right? So understand, he really wasn't there for himself. He was there to bring a friend of his to an audition. Talk about the right place at the right time. All right, and then Sarah Michelle Gellar. She, yeah, it's amazing, really, these things. She was just 4 years old when she was spotted eating at a restaurant in her hometown of New York City. And a week later, she had a first acting gig and various small parts. And she, you obviously will probably remember her from Buffy and the Vampire Slayer. But incredible, right? She just happened to be eating at a restaurant, and somebody spotted her and just loved the look of her. Johnny Depp, another one that really had no intention of becoming an actor as he was growing up. On one boring day, he decided to go with a friend of his, Jackie Earle Haley, to an audition, another one who went with his friend, for Nightmare on Elm Street. Haley didn't get the part. But the director, Wes Craven, saw Johnny Depp and went, "Yeah, that looks like the guy I want." And they asked him to audition. And needless to say, he made the cut. And played the horrifying character Glenn. I don't know if you remember that. Not a bad start. And from there, of course, he went on to become one of the most famous actors in Hollywood. I'm pretty sure the guy that he was giving the lift to the audition probably didn't talk to him for a while. Charlize Theron, the South African actress, she moved to Hollywood when she was just 18 and was living in a hotel room off the ever-shrinking savings account that she earned from modeling in New York City, and with a little help from her mum. She went to various meetings with various casting directors and agents and was getting nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And then one day, she was, I don't know if any of you can relate to this. I want you to get a visual of this. She was in the bank trying to cash a check from her mum, and the teller refused to cash it. And Charlize lost it. They got into a bit of a fight, and eventually a kind gentleman stopped over and offered to help. The kind gentleman just happened to be the talent agent, John Crosby, who offered to represent the blonde bombshell and sent her to acting classes. And she landed her first role within a year. So there she was, just having a temper tantrum. And I guess that he said, if you're capable of doing that in a bank, you're going to be good on screen. The other one that surprised me, and I must admit I didn't know about this one. Did you know that? Hi there, Nana. Did you know that Matthew McConaughey also didn't get into fame and fortune the right way? He just wasn't interested in getting into his father's footsteps, and that was in oil. And he decided he wanted to become an actor. And he appeared in a few student films and commercials, before he became famous. He got his big break through, in a hotel bar in Austin, Texas, where he met a producer who would later introduce him to Richard Linklater, who was casting the iconic high school comedy Dazed and Confused. Linklater originally saw McConaughey and thought he was too handsome to play the role of the older creep who partied with much younger high school girls. But Matthew decided maybe if he wore a moustache and did a surfer hairdo, he would look older, and he did, and he got the part. Now, I didn't know that Jennifer Lawrence also got in to the business in a weird way. It's hard to believe that when you think about it. And she was only 25 when she won her first Oscar. Isn't that incredible? And that was for Silver Linings Playbook. Uh, Obviously, her most celebrated role was that of Katniss in The Hunger Games. And, she ended up being the highest paid actress in the world in 2015 and 16. But you might wonder, where did it all start? And from what I could find out, her big break was completely accidental. She came from Kentucky, and she was vacationing in New York when she was just happened to be spotted by a talent agent. And that agent turned her into a teenage model overnight. And then she made her television debut in the series Monk, M-O-N-K. Do any of you remember Monk? I used to love that show. And that was way back in 2006. And from there, she went on to star in Hunger Games, X-Men, and various other films, obviously. So, amazing. Just happened to be the right place at the right time, and the right talent agent saw her. Yeah, I used to love that show. I sometimes watch some reruns of it. Marilyn Monroe. And this obviously goes back a little bit further, but she wasn't, as you know, she wasn't always the blonde bombshell that we remember her for. She was definitely not a natural blonde when she was Norma Jean Mortensen. And she spent most of her childhood, I don't know if you know this, but she spent most of her childhood between foster homes and orphanages. Not a fun way, but she was a brunette. And what happened was she was working at a factory for the US military when a photographer just happened to shoot a picture of her and put it in a magazine. From there, she decided to dye her hair blonde and found success as a model, and eventually appeared in several, as you know, Hollywood classics. Now, again, Eva Mendes, she didn't start out as a model, though she certainly could have done. She actually was hoping to make it in a career in marketing when a talent agent happened to spot her, saw a photograph of her by chance, and I believe that it ended up in somebody else's portfolio, and this other person had a picture of themselves with Eva Mendes, and the talent agent just said, "I want to meet this lady." And he actually went out of his way to find her, and he did. Hi, Kimmy. And that took her into Ghost Rider and 2 different Fast and Furious movies. All right. So amazing. Just happened to have a picture of her. Now, do you know who Peter Dinklage is? He's the shorter guy, if I can word it that way, in Game of Thrones. And what an incredible career he has had. Way before he ever played that part in Game of Thrones, he became beloved by literally everyone, as you know, who watched Game of Thrones. But he actually started off as a rock singer, a punk rock singer as well, not just a rock singer. I think he played the trumpet as well. And he was actually working in an office called Professional Examination Services, and apparently he was some sort of data input person. And he decided this working 9 to 5 definitely wasn't for him, and ended up being a very famous actor. And I'm certain, can you imagine how many people would have said to him, at your height, you think you're going to be an actor? Think again. And yet look at what he's done with his life. And what about Meryl Streep? Again, amazing background. She went to Vassar College. I didn't know that. That's quite a well-known college, right? And she actually gained some attention in a school play, playing Miss Julie. It was pretty smooth sailing for her after that. And as somebody, her Vassar drama professor said, I don't think anyone ever taught Meryl acting. She just taught herself. How many of you can imagine that? She just became whatever it was she needed to be. I heard somewhere, The Devil Wears Prada. I don't know if you were there when I talked about this, but when she went to play that part in The Devil Wears Prada, I'm trying to think of her co-star in that, very well-known, Natalie Portman, was it? Who was it that was in Devil Wore Prada? Somebody will remember. Anyway, she actually went to the other actress and said, you're perfect for this part. I'm glad you've got it. And by the way, I won't be speaking to you again. What I hear is that she is Anne Hathaway. Thank you very much, Nana. I appreciate that. And Jodie, both of you. I believe that she is really antisocial when she is working. Doesn't talk to people, goes in and out of her trailer, comes out to do what she has to do and disappears. Just doesn't talk to people at all. Doesn't talk to the hands, doesn't talk to the other actors, just literally comes out, does her job very well, we know, and then disappears again. And that must be very off-putting if you are a new actor or actress being cast opposite her in any way, because you have no interaction with her. She just doesn't do that. So there's no discussion about how do you want to do this scene or whatever. No, she just comes out, does her thing, and disappears again. Now, some of you may know that Pamela Anderson hails from my neck of the woods here in Canada. And in fact, I think she's actually from our neck of the woods here in British Columbia, Nana, if I remember correctly. And the joke was she actually was sitting in a hockey game when the RoboCam, whatever, landed on her. And she was wearing a Labatt's T-shirt rather well, as you know. She was quite interesting shape. And so this picture of this gorgeous blonde wearing this T-shirt ended up on the Jumbotron, and the crowd went insane. And so they invited her down onto the field. It was actually a football, not hockey. They invited her down onto the field because she caused such a stir. And then Labatt's, who were the makers of the beer, Labatt's, they came and offered her a gig. And then after that came Playboy. And then after that, of course, she's from Ladysmith. Okay, thank you, Jodie. But anyway, Hollywood came soon after that. And she obviously was best known for her time in Baywatch. But what an incredible way to get fame and fortune. Literally, she just happened to be sitting in the audience of a football game. Go figure that one. All right, how about Ashton Kutcher? A simple college student, that's what he was. And an engineering student to boot. And suddenly a talent scout came up and said, I'd like to put you in movies. And I'm certain Ashton would have gone, yeah, right. They actually encouraged him to enter a modeling competition, in which he ended up winning. And once he had done that, he realized that maybe there was a bit more to this than meets the eye. And so he got more and more modeling gigs, and then he started to get commercials like for Calvin Klein. That put him on the map big time. And Versace also came after his body. And it was obviously in that 70s show that he got his big break. And think about it. That was, he just didn't plan that at all. That was not in his big scheme of things. Now, how many of you know Jason Statham? He was the farthest thing from an actor before his talent was discovered. The competitive amateur high diver sold jewelry on the streets of London to pay his bills. How about that? A talent agent just happened to notice him while he was working out one day, and that led to an audition with Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie was married to Madonna, I think, at one point, right? And then that particular director happened to be working on his future debut film called Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. And he saw Statham and said, he's exactly what I need for the film. And Ritchie actually asked him to impersonate nothing other than a street vendor selling fake jewelry. Did he know how to do that? He obviously got the gig and became one of Hollywood's iconic action heroes. Harrison Ford. This one I think is just amazing. I got more to this story than I had before. His really is a Cinderella story. If Cinderella were a man. He was trained in carpentry, as I think a lot of you know, and that's how he supported his family. And he was hired by George Lucas to build cabinets in George Lucas's home. Did you know that? It ended up being a job in a lifetime because Lucas really liked Harrison. And he actually offered him a role in American Graffiti, and that's when his career really took off. And obviously, we know him best for Han Solo. But what an interesting thing to be a carpenter and get the part. Some of you might be old enough to remember Wilford Brimley. He was a real life working cowboy. He was on a ranch and was a blacksmith, if you can believe it. He wasn't a city boy waiting tables when he was discovered, hoping to land some acting gig. He was literally a blacksmith on a ranch. But because he could ride a horse and actually looked like a cowboy, he was cast in as an extra in several westerns. Fellow actor Robert Duvall eventually convinced Brimley to get more serious about acting. And thankfully he did. The oatmeal spokesman that was cast in the 1969 True Grit movie, for those of you who remember that original one. And then a few years later, as Horace in the CBS classic, The Waltons. And, what an iconic character actor he was. Absolutely incredible. Now, how about John Wayne? I don't know about you. I always thought that he did it the obvious way, but he was actually anything but an actor. He was disqualified from his college football scholarship due to an injury. He didn't have enough money to continue paying for college, and he needed to find a job desperately. I believe that he broke his shoulder blade. From the Waltons, Walter Brimley. I don't know which character he played. Anyway, so to go back to John Wayne, he actually began working as a prop department person for Fox Studios. That was the only job he could get. And then forget about going back to school. if he thought maybe this new job would help him get some money and some fame, and he managed to become friendly with John Ford, the director, and of course landed his first film, which was Stagecoach, and yeah, it was all uphill after that, which I think is an incredible story. I've got some people here, but I really don't think that if I don't know them. Chris Pratt is an interesting one. All right. Chris Pratt wasn't discovered as a model, nor was he approached on the street by some talent agent. He wasn't discovered in New York or Los Angeles either. He was a waiter in Bubba Gump Shrimp Company in Maui, often spending his nights on the beach with his friends. They say you can meet interesting people serving bars and waiting tables. Well, Pratt met director Ray Down Chong at Bubba Gump, and she decided to cast him in a horror movie she was directing. And Pratt decided to stay in LA after his acting career kicked off. His acting career absolutely took off. And, aren't we glad that it did? I was really pleased. I'm sorry you don't know some of these people, Nana, but I think quite a few people do. Kirsten Wiig. She and they're saying that everybody has one teacher that really, believed in them. And Kirsten Wiig had a teacher who kept prodding her and prodded her so much she ended up in Hollywood. And she encouraged the talented beauty to pursue acting after college. And luckily she did, because look where it took her. Wiig moved to Los Angeles years later and became a cast member of the Groundlings improv group. After surviving a series of shady jobs, trying to work as an actress, she finally got her big break in 2006's Saturday Night Live, which I'm certain Anna's heard of, at the age of 32. Can you believe that? She didn't get discovered until she was 32. Stallone. Pretty sure Nana's heard of Sylvester Stallone. He was a go-to strongman. He was dirt poor, struggling actor and screenwriter back in 1970. At one particular low point, Stallone found himself scavenging for places to sleep because he couldn't afford rent. It was the true stereotype of a struggling artist, and it all changed when Stallone said goodbye to his 20s. His script for the movie Rocky, which he wrote a draft in 3 days, was picked up. Of course, Stallone would only sell the rights to the movie if he could play Rocky. And a lot of people didn't want that to happen. So, but then eventually somebody said, okay, and, you can play the part. And I'm certain that studio was very happy that they did. Samuel L. Jackson. If you saw Django Unchained and Pulp Fiction, you will know Samuel L. Jackson. Yet, funny enough, he wasn't that famous as an actor. It was Pulp Fiction put him on the map. And he was 45 when he played that role next to John Travolta. Can you believe that? Tarantino, the director, took a real liking to Jackson's talent. And Tarantino thought that he would probably go to waste if Tarantino himself didn't help him get noticed. And he did that. As in Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman had always loved acting and film. When he was a kid, he scraped together every penny that he could afford to watch movies. But by the time he was a teen, he turned down a partial drama scholarship in favor of a career in the US Air Force. How about that? And eventually, in 1959, he came to the realization that acting was his true passion. And he moved to Hollywood to see what he could do. Freeman first received some recognition for his work in Another World, a TV series, but his big break came from his brilliant performance in Driving Miss Daisy. Did any of you see that movie? I did. And he was 52 when he got his big break. Isn't that amazing? As far as actors go, Freeman, as we know, is one of the best. And so, don't give up on your dream is what I'm trying to tell you guys here. You never know when people are going to help you. You never know when your moment will come. Hulk Hogan, for example, was once a pitcher in a little league baseball team and attracted some scouts from New York, from the New York Yankees, in fact, and the Cincinnati Reds. But an injury ended his baseball career. Before the wrestling giant got into the business of wrestling and acting, he wanted to be something else. After his baseball career ended, Hogan took a stab at his real passion, which was music, and played bass for a band in Florida. I didn't know that, did you, Hulk Hogan? One night, someone in the audience thought he'd make a good wrestler. It's a good idea to listen to your audience. Hulk most recently made a ton of money suing Gawker over the release of his sex tape. So I hope that you found some interesting stories there, even if you didn't recognize them all. And so you know that really it is amazing the number of people who that were famous that actually didn't start by intending to be actors or whatever. I then looked up no, I didn't know he was a musician either. And you're going, Hulk Hogan? I don't know about you, but I can't even imagine him as a musician. I then looked up some incredibly lucky people. How many of you like those sort of stories? Who were in the right place at the right time? Leah, and I can't pronounce her last name, found a wedding ring that had disappeared 16 years previously while harvesting some vegetables in her garden. A carrot actually grew up through the center of the ring and pushed it to the surface. Isn't that incredible? 16 years after she lost it. Or how about this guy, Steve Flake? He grew up without his mother and had been looking for her for years. As it turns out, he was searching for the wrong last name. A coincidence helped him find his mom. Steve began working in a big chain store and told his boss about his struggle. The boss recognized Steve's mom's last name. It so happens she was working at a different store in his chain of stores. Can you believe the coincidence of that? Virginia Fike, listen to this one, chose the same digit combination to play lottery tickets. The first number stood for the numbers of years in which her parents had been married. The second was the age of at the year of her wedding. And in 2012, she signed 2 tickets with the same number by accident, each of which netted her $1 million. She did it by accident, put 2 in instead of 1. And because she was in there twice, she got $2 million. Now, this is one of those things where you're going, wow, is it possible to have this happen? Tsutomu Satomo, I'll get that right, Yamaguchi, is the only person who survived the 2 nuclear attacks on Japan. The only person that survived them. He was on a business trip in Hiroshima when the nuclear attack happened, only 3 kilometers away from the explosion. He was severely burned, but okay. 3 days later, he happened to return to his workplace in Nagasaki, where the second explosion happened. Wow. Harrison O'Keaney worked as a cook on a ship. He was in the bathroom when the ship began to sink, and he wasn't able to evacuate in time. Fortunately, he was able to move into the engine room where an airbag formed, just a pocket of air formed. And the rescuers were able to find him only 3 days later. And he was the only one to survive, just because he was in the washroom at the time. Now, this next one, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that the FBI and all sorts of people would have been checking on this one. Joan Ginther, this saleswoman in a convenience store, sold the lucky $5.4 million lottery ticket. She won. The saleswoman I'm looking at sold that ticket to Joan Ginther. 10 years later, Joan won another 2 million. 3 years later, 3 million more. And finally, in 2008, she won a jackpot of 10 million. So in her lifetime, 5.4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 million. Now, I don't know about you. That's one heck of a coincidence, in my view. There's this lady, Julianne Kopechne, who survived a plane crash right above the Amazon River. In 1971, the 17-year-old girl was able to get out of the crash with numerous bruises and cuts and things, but she managed to live in the jungle amongst the wild animals for a few days. She was eventually rescued by locals. She was the only one to survive the crash. Can you imagine that feeling? Now, talk about you got a guardian angel. How about this one? Professional Dutch racing cyclist Martin de Jong booked tickets for both flights with Malaysian Airlines and canceled his booking at the last moment. One of the planes, as you know, disappeared in the Indian Ocean, and the other one got shot down over the Ukraine, I think, right? Imagine. Yeah, Jody, it was amazing about that ring, right? It wasn't meant to be lost, obviously. Do you remember the incredible explosion in the textile factory in Rana Plaza? There was this Rashima Begum who was working as a seamstress in that building. She was lucky enough to survive the explosion, but remained trapped under all the rubble. Fortunately, she was able to find some water and some food and survived for 17 days until they found him. Oh, wow. Scary. Now, this man, talk about luck. How do you like this? His name is Frane Selak. And Frane is a Croatian music teacher. First of all, he managed to escape death when his train fell into a lake, and he survived. And he survived because I don't know how he managed that. But the next thing was he was in a car crash. And guess what? He survived that as well. And then he fell out of a plane. Don't ask me how. He fell out of a plane and landed on a haystack, while the other 19 passengers all tragically died. He actually survived a number of car crashes and finally won $1 million in the lottery. Do you think he was blessed or what? Absolutely amazing. So, do any of you have any stories of being that you know of family members or stories you've heard about people being in the right place at the right time? Because it is amazing. I have told the story before, but um, my mum, when she was pregnant with me, funny enough, was in Scandinavia somewhere. I think she was in Oslo or something. Anyway, she went to get on a plane to fly back to England, and when she got onto the plane, she got a premonition that she should not be on that plane. Now, in those days, even in those days, I should say that they were a little bit weary of anybody that got on a plane and then wanted to get off in a hurry. And that, that wasn't normal behavior. So when she tried to get off, and she did get off, the cops actually started to interrogate her. And the most incredible thing was that and she was quite heavily pregnant with me at the time, and as they were talking to her, they suddenly got interrupted, and the cop that was interviewing her said, "What made you get off the plane?" And she said, "I don't know. It just felt wrong. It felt really wrong. I didn't think I should be on that plane." And he said, "You were right." And she said, "What?" And he said, "You were right. It just went down." Nobody survived it. And the reason I'm talking to you today is because my mom got off that plane. So I wonder if any of you have got any, personal stories in your life, or ones that you know about, where somebody did the right thing and because of that. Yeah, isn't it amazing, Jody? Um, and they really did interrogate her for some time because they thought maybe she was involved in some way, which she wasn't. She just got a premonition not to be on that plane. Pilot David um, Zentner and his wife were flying their Cessna. They had a Cessna 182. Hi, Erin. Erin, if you have an update, please let us have it. Anyway, they were flying it over their home, and as they were flying over their own home, they saw somebody stealing their RV. Actually, their trailer. And what they did is they got in contact with air control, and air control got in contact with the cops, and they just kept circling where this guy was, and they managed to catch him. I can assure you that the robbers were a little surprised that they were caught doing that, especially from the air. And then the Viking Sigurd the Mighty famously conquered northern Scotland in the 9th century, if you can imagine that far back. But after decapitating male Bright the Bucktooth, he attached his head to his saddle as a trophy. On the ride, the Bucktooth pierced Sigurd's leg and caused a fatal infection. Sweet revenge, right? Hi there, Nerlene. Good to see you. Now, how about this one for Are You Lucky or What? Dorothy Fletcher had a heart attack on a flight to Orlando in 2003. When the flight attendant asked if there were any doctors on board, 15 cardiologists stood up. They were all on their way to a convention. Needless to say, Dorothy survived. Can you imagine that? Do I have any doctors on board? Somebody's had a heart attack. Yep, 15 cardiologists. That's what you call one incredible coincidence. All right, now then, All right, so Erin's saying she's feeling much better now. Jody, could you take a screenshot of this so that I can put it on Facebook? Feeling much better now, still waiting for the biopsy results. All right, so her father is going to be going into hospice as soon as they can find a bed. They're afraid to leave him alone now. Oh gosh, well, the main thing is that he's going to get the help. He's going to get the hospice care he deserves, Erin. And I don't know if you heard, Erin, but Beth's puppy Peanut didn't make it through this week. I think Peanut was close to 20, but he passed this week. So I know that you're a big dog lover, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that. How about this Indiana man who was playing? Thank you, Sharon. Didn't see you there. An Indiana man was playing an art-themed board game in 1999 when he noticed that a particular painting in the game looked very much like one that he was using to cover up a hole in the wall of his home. It turns out it was the real thing, and the man sold that painting that was covering up the hole for more than $1 million. Can you imagine that? You go, oh yeah, I got that picture at home. Or how about the American novelist Anne Parrish? She was browsing in a Paris bookstore in the 1920s when she found one of her favorite childhood books. She opened up the flap and saw her name scribbled inside. It was her copy. Hi, Niasha. Good to see you. Isn't that incredible? Yeah. You know something? I am just happy to hear that they're doing everything they can. Hi there, Alana. I'm just happy, Erin, that they're doing what they can to get him a bed in a hurry. That is really important. All right, so in 1942, would you believe that the Reverend Frederick Goering found a young girl in a Solomon Islands, Guadalcanal, and called her Patsy Lee after the brand of hat that he wore? After reading an article about her, a Singapore woman argued that Patsy Lee was her daughter, who'd been lost at sea, if you can imagine that. Except it was Patsy Lee, L.I. A blood test confirmed that Patsy Lee was indeed Patsy Lee, L.I. What are the coincidences of that happening? Talk about being in the right place at the right time. So, we were talking at lunchtime about how invested we are in certain things in our life. And if any of you, saw the vlog that I put up yesterday, it was about relationships. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how the way in which we invest our time, energy, and so forth, affect the way we live our lives. And I was talking the incredible story at lunchtime about Jody, who, if you can believe it, has lost 100 pounds this year. In the last year, 100 pounds. Can you imagine how much time, effort, dedication, research, discipline, everything that must have taken her? All right, so let me just read what Erin's saying here. Yes, I agree. He should be in hospice now. He's on hospice, but a hospice facility would make Erin feel better. Yeah. He doesn't want to go because he's very proud, but he understands. Yes. I'm glad that he understands the need. I'm really glad that he understands the need. It is so much easier for them to have all the right things for him in hospice. Hi there, Becca. Good to see you. So I know that I've got a couple of people on the broadcast now who know a great deal about relationships. And one question that I got asked by a viewer quite recently was, if you have never had a relationship and want to find one, what would you look for? And I thought I would ask that question tonight because I've got quite a few people in the room that probably have done either the right thing or the wrong thing. So when you went looking for your relationship, did you actually go looking for something? Or did it just happen to be that you were in the right place at the right time? How did you meet the love of your life? Um, I think that's important for viewers to understand that very rarely do people go out looking for the person they're going to spend the rest of their life with. And more than likely, those of you in long-term relationships didn't go looking. Yeah, Nolene, to lose 100 pounds in a year, that's an awful lot of dress sizes, right? And the thing was that Jody didn't put on the weight because of bad eating habits. She put on the weight because she had lymphoderma, which caused her whole body to swell up. And it literally caused her body to swell all the way from her legs to her stomach. And Jody, just as a matter of interest, if you care to share that information, where has most of that weight come from? In other words, what area of your body is lost that 100 pounds? Or was it equally, I'm sort of wondering whether that, it was like the plug came out of the bottom of your foot and, the water retention went down from your stomach, or did it just go everywhere? Yes, I know you still have quite a bit to lose because of the lymphoderma, and we're there with you, Jody. We're gonna be right by you as you lose that next amount. All right, so Kimmy's saying the first one that person she got involved with, she thought he was a good person, but he was very abusive. So from your experience, Kimmy, what were the first signs that he was abusive? And what did you ignore? You know what I mean? Because I think sometimes when we look back with wisdom, we can see that the signs were there, but we ignored them. So maybe we can help this viewer who was asking me about what do I look for in a relationship. Maybe we can talk to her a little bit about what's to be careful of. What are the warning signs? He was hitting you? Yeah, that's not love. All right. Wow. So anybody that abuses you is not somebody who loves you. It doesn't matter what they say. Yeah, they can say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again." That's not somebody who loves you. Anybody that has to control you by hitting you. Um, yeah, really, run. Don't walk away. Run. Jody's saying it was in her legs and a bit in her stomach, arms, and some in your face. Okay, so you have now lost it in all those places? Yes, I sent that link on to her, Nyasha. She's saying that, yeah, I did pass that on to Jody immediately. As soon as I got it, I passed it straight on, just so you know. He also spent a lot of time putting you down, Kimmy, all right? So for somebody who doesn't know what that looks like, could you give us some examples so that somebody can relate to this is not This is not love. This is not somebody you want to be in a relationship with. What if for anybody who's on the broadcast tonight, what sort of things do people do that put you down? You know, somebody who's always criticizing you would be one thing. Hi, Juliana Al. Yeah, she's saying that Kimmy probably he was a narcissist, the same as the one she had. I had a narcissist as well. So I totally, all right, so let's try and, all right, so Kimmy's saying he was always telling her that she was mentally crazy and worthless and stupid. All right. Um, I would say that my experience was it was all about him and never about me. When I say that, you know, everything we did was stuff he wanted to do. Whatever we brought into the house, it was what he wanted. When I bought something in, he'd discount it and say, you know, that's garbage. Um, when we bought furniture, it wasn't what I wanted, it was what he wanted. You know, it was amazing. And I just didn't see it, quite honestly. Yeah, Kimmy's saying that she recognizes those things as well. So if you get into a relationship with somebody who's always just looking after themselves, not after you, run. Yeah. So actually, Jody, if you would be so kind, maybe you could just make a note for me to put that incredible song that Nyasha found. What I also found, Nyasha, was the lyrics for that song for people who might not be able to pick them up when they're listening to it. And I think I'll put that on my resource page on my webpage. All right, so Jody was saying she was constantly being compared to his ex. This was not Lionel. This was the toxic relationship she had before. All right, so Juliana's also saying that, and welcome, Juliana, because I don't know you, is it okay for me to repeat what you have typed here? When I don't know people, I do like to make sure that they know this is going to go out on a replay, and therefore they might not want this repeated. So okay, all right, fine. So Juliana's saying hers used to say that she's crazy and everything was about him. And he was like a child all the time and cheating left, right. So you're getting a divorce. That's called well done. I'm certain, you know, Juliana, one of the things I say to people when they write to me, and yes, I agree with Jody. I'm so sorry to hear you're going through that. Is that, you know, if I wrote to you and told you I was living your life, what on earth would you recommend me to do? And the funny thing is, I am amazed how easily people can tell me they would advise me to get the heck out of Dodge. Yeah, and Kimmy is saying that she was constantly compared to his mother. Yeah, how nice is that? And you know, Juliana, I don't know how old you are, but thank goodness you've learned your lesson. And the reason I say that is because there are an awful lot of people that ended up in very bad situations because they didn't learn their lesson. So for anybody that's looking for love, you know, this is not what love looks like. Somebody who's trying to control you is not somebody who loves you. Somebody who's trying to make you be a carbon copy of his mother, you know, they don't love you. They just want another mother. All right, let's think of some other warning signs. Right. Well, Juliana, a big hug to you, honey. I want to tell you, I didn't do it once, I did it twice. You know, like I didn't even learn the first time. I had to do it a second time before I realized, no, that doesn't work. All right. So Juliana is saying that, you know, her parents always told her to leave him, but you just couldn't do it. So the thing is, Juliana, I'm pretty sure that you're not stupid because you're here with us tonight, and welcome. And by the way, I will get the other viewers to let you know how old they are roughly and where they live, so you can get a feeling of the group. I'm, as I think you may know, I'm about to be 72 at the end of the month. Well, one day short of the end of the month. And I'm here in southern British Columbia in Canada. Yes, Kimmy's saying she was not allowed to have family or friends around. That's another famous one. If anybody tries to stop you on the phone or stop you from talking to your friends or going out with your friends, you know that this is, oh, look at that, another Canuck. Juliana is from Toronto or Toronto. Welcome. It's so, I don't know how you found us, but I'm so glad that you did. Thank you for being here. I think it's really, I'm very sprightly. Thank you, Becca. Yeah, it is surprising, isn't it? And it's really funny when I look at it and I go, I really have to say I don't feel 72. I do when I wake up in the morning. I've got to be quite honest. My bones feel like they're 72 when I get up in the morning. But other than that, I really don't feel it. All right, so Jody's saying, I think this might have been mentioned, but I wasn't allowed to make my own decisions. It was done for me. What to wear, what to watch, who your friends should be. Yes. Have you ever been out with somebody who won't let you order what you want? They want to order everything for you? I can remember once, you guys would love this one. I can remember going out to dinner with on a first date with somebody, really cute. And it was so funny because it got to the dessert, and it was a very fancy restaurant, actually. And he was a very well-known person in town, and it was so funny. And he said, "Right, for dessert we will have," and he went, the lemon meringue pie or what? No, it wasn't lemon meringue pie, but black forest cake. Da, 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 da. And then my guest will have, and he said something else, right? And then the maitre d' that was serving us said, "Thank you very much." And obviously he went there regularly because they had a relationship. And, the maitre d' turned to go, and I said, "Excuse me a second, sir, if you would." And he said, "What?" I said, "I wonder if you could just come back a minute. Now that I know the two desserts that he would like, I would like to order the dessert that I would like, if that's okay." I want to tell you, the whole restaurant just about went quiet, because me, I didn't do it in a low voice. I did it in my speaking voice. I want to tell you, there was one woman, I saw her, at a table, and she was literally applauding me. I just went, yeah. Now that we know the two desserts that he would like, I'd like to order the one that I would like, if that would be okay. And Jody's saying, "Way to go, Sal." And Becca's saying, "Haha, Sal, I can totally picture you doing that." Yeah, I did. I really did. The funny thing was, though, Becca, he and I went out for quite a while. He really admired the fact I had the sphericals, if you like, to actually do that. So, all right, let me see here. Wait 1 second. All right, so Kimmy's saying that her ex was so abusive, he was screaming at me after work in the parking lot. He slammed the car door on my leg. Yeah, that's called abuse. And that is just like, really get out of Dodge in a hurry if anybody's doing anything. That is criminal. Giuliani, you're going, duh. If I thought of it, I would have done the same thing. That's one of the reasons we love to all get together, Juliana, is that half the time we don't know what to say in these situations because you can't believe that anybody would do such a thing. And so I really thank you all. Yes, go right ahead, Nana. If you wish to ask a question, I don't have to answer it, I guess, but yeah, go right ahead. So I want you to think about this in terms of relationships. So the other thing is, if I look at the mistakes that I made in my relationships, I always went for the hunk in the room, the good-looking one that attracted all the attention. And, really, why did I do that? That's not what I really wanted. You've got to think about, what do you want in your life? Um, and I really, now that I'm at this age, I would have been far happier with somebody who wasn't, tall, dark, and handsome. I would have been much happier with somebody who was quieter and really loved me for who I was in my sweats. Rather than somebody who only loved me when I was, arm candy, as they call it, when I was all dressed up to the nines and making him look good. And Kimmy saying what was so sick about the whole thing for her, which was when she got away from him, her mother sided with him. Well, yeah, that tells you everything, right? Does anyone have a Baker's cyst? Is that on the knee? Why do I think that's on the knee? I'm sorry. I think it's behind the knee, if it's what I think it is. Yes, okay. So it is the same thing. Yeah, it is. It is very painful sometimes. I agree. What does the doctor say about it, Nana? Because normally they either give you something for it or they drain it, I think. I'm not a medical expert on that one. Has anybody? So the doctor says to put ice on it and compression. Okay. It will settle down. She's had it for about 10 years. Wow. Isn't that incredible? I thought they drained them sometimes. Okay. So that's a learning thing. What causes it, Nana? Becca's asking. What causes a Baker's cyst? It is so sore. Yeah. Well, it would be because, that's where you're bending against it all the time. All right. So if you think about, if this is it, then all the time when you're bending your leg, you're squeezing that cyst and probably pushing it against nerves and things. So I can imagine that it would be pretty painful. Okay, and your neighbor's son has one as well. Yeah, that's interesting. The same way, I was talking to a viewer earlier today, Nana, about fibroids. And, it's interesting because fibroids can be incredibly painful, or they can sometimes go away on their own. And I literally ended up with a, a very serious case of fibroids. And the pain was so excruciating, they almost had to put me on morphine. And I was just very unfortunate that I got them when I did, which was in the summer, and most of the beds were closed at the hospitals, and I had to wait until September before they could do an operation. And in fact, they ended up doing the operation early because I was really in a bad way. So Nolene's saying hers, um, plays up every now and then. Does weather affect it, Nolene? Just so that Nana can know what to be careful of. Yeah, and you should rest. You're not really known for that, Nana. So, I would, really work on that one. Has anybody managed to find out what causes it yet? Those of you who have more than one device, let me see if I can find it. I definitely had heard of it before. I just don't know enough about what causes it, obviously. Hang on a second. Any cyst is really a fluid retention in a certain area, right? Um, the causes, 10 causes. All right, here we go. Inflammation foods can cause it. Wait a minute, let's have a look here. It says that it's the fluid that surrounds the knee joint. This fluid is contained inside a membrane and plays an integral role in the smooth movement of the knee. This fluid can occasionally flow from the knee and causes swelling, and it's called a Baker's cyst. It usually results in the body producing too much of this fluid, which because of inflammation or a knee injury. Did you have a knee injury before? All right, so Juliana Owl is saying stress can cause it, mostly anything. And Nolene is saying a Baker's cyst is usually the result of a knee joint conditions, all right, such as arthritis or torn cartilage that causes the knee to produce too much lubricating fluid. Yeah, that's what I'm reading as well. Okay, Nyasha, no problem. So interesting stuff. So let's have a little look here. Also, they're saying that osteoarthritis can cause it as well. The stream is buffering a lot for you tonight. You know something, Becca? I think that's true most nights that you're on. And I really, would ask you to refresh it, or I think, quite often it does buffer. So I've always found that if that is happening, don't look at the video, just hear me, don't look at me. And then you won't get distracted by the fact that the voice and the words are not in sync. Yeah, I can remember days of tiny chat and stuff like that. You had buffering problems as well. But it's just I'm sad to hear it for your sake. So it freezes both the audio and the visual. Okay, is anybody else having that problem, or is it just Becca's internet connection? All right, so Kimmy's saying, I hope I don't get this Baker's cyst because she already has knee problems. Yes. Right. So, Nana, there are all sorts of things that can cause it, right? A knee injury can cause it. Arthritis can cause it. So do a little bit of research. Just go to Dr. Google and do a little bit of research and see. All right. So down in it's Florida, right, Nolene? It's saying in Florida, doctors there do nothing for them. They're just it's just accumulation of fluid. All right. A lot of things cause it, Nana's saying. She spent a month on Dr. Google. Okay, fine. But it is amazing, isn't it, today that we can do that we actually can. I've always said to people, I really do think that looking it up on Dr. Google is a good idea as long as you're looking in the right places. As long as you're looking at things like the Mayo Clinic or, reputable places. And just because somebody's got the word Dr. So-and-so in their video doesn't mean that it is necessarily reputable. And we say that because of, look at what Dr. Oz did for all those years. All right. He took any money anybody wanted to give him to promote products, slimming products and things. Just because he had the word doctor in his name, everybody thought he was telling the truth. And so just be very careful. When you do your research on medical issues, Do it for sure, yes, but make sure you go to the right places to find out the information. One of the things, for example, when Jody was telling me about this intermittent fasting, one of the places I went was straight to the Mayo Clinic to see what they had to say about intermittent fasting. Because to me, it was like, okay, if they think it's okay, then I'm not going to worry. It's not that he wasn't a real doctor, Becca. It was that he was taking money to say things about products. I believe he is a real doctor. At one point, they nearly took his license away, I think. So Kimmy's saying that her knee is popping in and out all the time as she walks. What did the doctor say about that? That sounds like that's a cartilage muscle problem. And my question would be, if that's happening to you, Kimmy, have you considered a brace to hold it all together? Oh, a bit. Nolene's going, yeah, she's a bit farther south than Florida. She's in Australia. Duh. Nicely worded, Nolene. I like it. Okay, Nana, enjoy your food. They said it was okay for your knee to be popping in and out. Really? I wouldn't accept that. I would say, no, it's not okay. It's painful, and I need something to help me walk. It's amazing, right? Yeah, that's fine. It's fine that your knee pops in and out. No, it is not fine. It would be my answer. So what can I do about it? Yeah, do I need to be bandaging it? Do I need to support it with a brace? What do I need to do? I don't know about the rest of you, but yeah, I don't think that your knee popping in and out is an okay thing. It's just like, duh. They did an MRI and said it was okay. Well, if it's okay, why is it popping in and out? Exactly, Juliana. You and I think the same way. Juliana is saying that's not okay because your bones can crack and shatter, and it can hurt like crazy. Yes. So if they've done an MRI, and they can't find anything obvious, it doesn't mean that it's okay, in my view. This is what you've been told by them. Well, I'd be telling them that this really hurts, and this, hurts like a stuffed pig when it pops out. So I need some support. Do I I need to know what to do for this. Do I wear a knee brace? Do I need to wrap it? What can I do to minimize the difficulty? Exactly, Juliana. She's saying you need something to hold it so it won't pop up. That's what my feeling is. That's what a leg brace is for. Okay, so keep after it. Kimmy, the reason I'm saying keep after it, you will remember Lizzie, our dear longtime viewer Lizzie, has been having problems for the longest time. And they kept saying it was in her head. There was nothing wrong with her. It was in her head. Well, I kept saying to her, do not quit. Keep going to different doctors if necessary. Keep going until they listen to you. And now at last, after all this time, she's found a doctor that goes, wait a minute. We think you might have celiac disease, and also we think you might have a gallbladder. All right? And that was because she didn't quit nagging about it. You're going back for the 5th time. Yeah. So, if they say, there's nothing wrong with it, and you go, if there's nothing wrong with it, why is it popping in and out? Explain that to me. Show me that on a picture, why that's okay. And yeah, that's what they tell you, and they prescribe head pills. Yes, well, hello. You know something? I cannot tell you how many times in my life I have, I had, Kimmy, this gets a little bit personal, but I had the most incredible pain in my stomach. I thought it was in my stomach for the longest time. And they told me that they couldn't see anything wrong and I was making it up. It was all in my head. And then one day I went in for a uterine, what do you call it, vaginal DNC, where they scrape. And they woke me up in the middle of the operation. And they literally had a glass jar and they showed it to me and they said, "Do you know what this is?" And I said, "What?" And, and I'm looking at what looks like a razor blade, um, multiple bits of a razor blade, like a spring razor blade. And I said, "Well, the only thing I can think it is an IUD, intrauterine device to stop me getting pregnant." And they said, "Hmm, that's what we think too. How long has it? How long ago did it explode on you?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "How long ago did it explode?" And I just started to cry. And I said, "I don't know, but I can tell you when I started having the pain and when they started to tell me it was all in my head." And she said to me that they had to go back in because they had to go and dig out the rest of the metal that was in my womb, um, or in my uterus. And she said, "Yeah, it exploded, Juliana." And in fact, I believe there was one bit that they left in because they realized that it would apparently cause more problems to take it out than to leave it where it was. So, that's why when I hear people say to me, they tell you it's all in your head. I keep saying to people that, if you know it isn't in your head, if you know that you've got pain, then you keep being that broken record. Yeah, it's the reason I didn't have children, obviously. I think that's pretty obvious, right? Because the damage it did was pretty horrific. Um, so you look at it and you go, I really do agree. No, you know something, Juliana, I thank you for saying that you're sorry, but I I never let the fact I couldn't have children stop me from mothering, if you like. I've always, I've had adults adopt me as a mother. I've always done what I can to be a mother to other people, the one that I never got to be. And I think, it's so easy to say, that how sad, but I believe that everything happens for a reason. So I'm not sad about it. Um, I probably would have played with my kids' toys more than they did. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, um, I do mothering vicariously. I do it through other people's children and so forth. But I've never ever stopped telling people who say they've got a pain. I never stop telling them, get it checked out. Keep going until you find somebody that believes you. And if you know, I keep saying I can remember people prescribing me head pills, and I'd go, could you explain to me how this antidepressant or whatever this is, anti-anxiety pill is going to help the pain in my stomach? Could you explain that to me? Well, we actually don't think you've got a pain in your stomach, so you think I'm lying. You see, and that is the problem. We cannot put them inside our bodies to feel that pain. All right. And so they're not hurting, so they think you're just making it up. I want to tell you, I have to tell you that as somebody who did spend quite a lot of my life on pills, head pills, as I call them, on antidepressants and things. I realize now that if I had known then what I know now, I would never have needed antidepressants because I would have known how to dig my way out in a hurry. And that is the interesting thing for me today. The reason I started DearMamaSal was, could I help anybody lessen the time they needed to be on these horrific drugs that they have? And it's really important to me that we, as Jody says, we need to be our own best advocates. And if they don't listen to you, if they don't believe you, then keep going until you find somebody who does, which is what Lizzie did. And it took her, I would think almost 2 years to find somebody that actually believed her. But she found somebody. And now she's getting stuff done. Now, of course, she doesn't particularly like the diagnosis that she's getting. But I said to her, but at least you found out that it's not in your head. It is exactly where you said the pain was. And so to me, it's like, if you've got the pain, check it out. Now, I'm thinking about, for example, what Nana was saying about the fact that the Baker's cyst requires that she rest up and, I sit properly and do all sorts of things. And if she does that, I guess it will lessen the pain. The question is, will Nana be able to do that? Right? Or will Nana keep being the Energizer Bunny and then keep having the pain? I don't know. Jody, there were certain things you needed to do to start losing that fluid that you were retaining from the lymphoderma. All right, Juliana is saying, yeah, I remember when I had kidney stones. Oh, yeah, I remember that one as well. I got them from stress and no one believed me. The doctor told me it's all in your mind. And then one day I went to emergency. I couldn't take it anymore and a doctor helped you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can remember having kidney stones on the border between South Africa and Mozambique on Mabini Beach, 4 hours away from civilization. I started to pass kidney stones, and I want to tell you, I literally was screaming out loud. Yep. I have to tell you, that is the most horrific pain. And so anybody that's had kidney stones and where you tried to pass them, I think when they can get them when they're still in the kidney, that's bad enough. But when they actually start trying to get out, whoa, that is horrific. And the worst thing was, because I was 4 hours away from civilization, I needed to make the decision: did I want to get in an off-road car that could go very, very fast and get me to civilization in 2 hours, or did I want to go slowly in a car that would take 4 hours? And I said, take me in the fast one. The faster I get something inside me that stops this pain, the better. You fainted from the pain. Yes, I believe somebody told me once, Juliana, and I can't remember where I heard this, but the pain is worse than childbirth. That's what they told me. So, Isabel, how's the painting going? I used to faint from the pain of menstrual cramps when I was in my late teens. I literally would be, it's amazing. I'm amazed that I held on to all those bits for as long as I did, because really they caused me a lot of trouble. I have never regretted that hysterectomy, I can tell you. Never regretted it, especially after what happened to me. All right, so Kimmy's saying she calls the pills they give you for bipolar or depression head pills. Head B&B pill. Oh, you've done the primer, the second coat of the primer. Why do you do 2 coats of primer? Why don't you use bare paints? I'm sorry to say that, but the reason I use bare paints is because they're over anything, and 20 years later, they're still looking good. Anyway, but I don't know what you're trying to paint white over black or something. Oh, I still haven't got an idea of what this whole cast looks like. Oops. I've had a black screen the whole of the cast. It's really the strangest feeling. All right, so look after yourself is really what the message is. All right, the wall is very blue and you're changing the color, okay? And what are you changing the color to? I want to tell you the fact that you're putting 2 layers of primer down tells me that it's probably quite a dark color to start with, and that you're going to go with a lighter color. Because I can't imagine a situation where you put 2 coats of, yeah, light gray. There you go. Yeah, that's very pretty. And what trim are you going to do with the light gray? What color will the trim be? I actually, one of the things that I have to tell you is that I created an off-white, I don't know if you can see it, probably here somewhere. I created this off-white color when I painted my house. And, I literally have the recipe for it, written all over the place, so that whenever I want to get another can, I have them make me up this special color. I quite agree with you, Kimmy. Kimmy is saying being sick with pain does not mean you need head pills. I totally agree with you. All right? I totally agree with you. By the way, just so that you know, for those of you who follow DearMamaSal.com, the web page, I've put onto the resource page, which is, if you go to the DearMamaSal.com and then go onto broadcasts, under the broadcast tabs, there is a tab for resources. I put in that link to that the war on plastics video. I managed to find a complete video for you. And also, I'm starting to put onto there things that we have found. I'm really seriously starting to look at more and more as to how to stop using single-use plastic. The saran wrap, the baggies that you use once and throw away, those sort of things. I'm really working very hard at that. And so what I'm doing is I'm giving you some links on the things that I'm doing, just in case any of you want to do the same thing. But I really, really recommend that you all watch that War on Plastics video. If you haven't seen it, it will probably blow your mind. It did mine. And I thought I was pretty good about recycling and things. And, every week I noticed that I'm doing just another step, another step. The other thing that I am doing, as you know, for those of you who've been following my journey with selling my house or not selling it, as the case is, I had another showing this week, just so that you know, and they sort of liked the size of it, but they didn't like some of the things that they thought needed doing. So that's not a sale. And so for anybody who hasn't put their house on the market, it really is an interesting process in a very dead market, which is what we've got here. Nana's saying if you paint yellow over black, you get green. Yes, do you know why? Because most of black is actually dark blue. That would make sense to me. Very good. And then if you want red with 1 or 2 coats, paint it gray first. Yes, that would also make sense. Because gray, and you know that gray is made up with all the colors, right? If I take all the paint when I've been painting, Nana, it will make gray. If you put all the colors together, it makes gray. So that would make sense, and it gives it a good coat for red. It makes total sense. Yeah. So Becca's saying, can I bring up something probably taboo to some people? Well, as long as it's okay on YouTube. Totally unrelated to this topic, that Nana does that all the time. Go right ahead. Yeah, that's very good, Nana. It's good to know for anybody who's busy painting. Yeah, and do you understand why the yellow over black makes green? Just so that you know. It's because the amount of deep blue that there is in black. That almost amethyst blue that there is in black. Yes, you did. You did a great job. So, Becca, what is the question? What I meant was, no, don't worry. Becca, what is the question, honey? Is it okay for me? Is it okay for me to repeat that? That is a very important warning sign. And that's why I'd like to be able to repeat it. Okay, so Becca's saying, I have been thinking about how my self-care really drops when I'm at my lowest, like the amount of intention it takes to take a shower after almost a week of no showering. And do things like, put on deodorant or maybe even clean your teeth, right? What it means, Becca, is that you're in depression. I would, I'm not a doctor, so I can't really diagnose that. But my experience has been any time that I didn't care about myself for a week, that is not normal. All right. Maybe I spent one day where I stayed in my jammies, right? That's like, look after me day. And I stay in my jammies and maybe I didn't shower. But to go a week without showering, that's not normal. And so, all right. So Erin's saying that she's getting a new chair. Is that right? You're getting a new seat so that maybe now you won't have those bed sores. Oh, that's great. You're waiting for the insurance. Yeah, you know something, Lauren had to wait for that as well. She waited for a new wheelchair for the longest time, Jody. How long did she wait for that? And then when it came, it didn't have the right cushion in it. Oh, it was really quite something. Becca, so here is the thing. I don't know what that diagnosis is. I would have to look at that to understand it. So I'm going to take that word. I have never seen that before, so that's a new one on me. I love learning things, as you know. But what I would definitely say is, first of all, I want to give you 10 out of 10 for actually talking about it. That's smart. It's a persistent depressive disorder called dysthymia. It is a continuous, long-term, chronic form of depression. Yeah, I absolutely would agree. But I am so glad that they've at least got it diagnosed now for you, Becca. That is wonderful. And so that, once you know what's going on. So what the thing is this, I would ask myself a question, Becca. Do you really want me to give you my input? Because if they have diagnosed you with that level of depression, then the chances are you're being medicated for that level of depression. Would I be correct on that one? And first of all, I want to send you a big hug, Becca, because I've been there. I know what that black hole feels like. And, I know you've been there quite some time as well. But I also would ask you to look at me, Becca, and know that there is a way out if you want it, right? It's just a case of whether you want it. Right, you're trying to find, they call it a cocktail, Becca, where they will give you different drugs and to find out which one actually works for you. There isn't one drug that is the right one. They need to work out which one works with your body chemistry. And, be patient on that one because it does take a while. And so here is what I want to say to you, Becca, that you remember that what the drugs will do is the drugs will help you cope. Right? I keep saying to people, it is your job to help yourself get better. So, you want to say to yourself, how many days as a adult, how many days am I going to allow myself to go without having a shower? And I'd be looking at the excuses that I give. By the way, you also suffer from SAD syndrome, seasonal affective disorder. So do I. But I take a vitamin D all year to protect myself from SAD. I came from, yeah, I quite agree, Nana. I learned that one a long time ago, and it also helped with my depression when I realized that that was the problem. I started taking. Do you take vitamin D every day, Becca? Especially now as we go from the summer into the fall. Um, it's really important, to take that vitamin D. But Becca, what I really would recommend you do is keep talking to us, and also really start talking to yourself as an adult. It is easier to stay in bed. It is easier not to shower. It is easier not to get up and make yourself something to eat. But it also is not going to make you better. So you need to decide if you want to. So yes, and your routine got messed up severely through the grief. Yes, because you didn't know how to handle that, right? And the same thing, all right, which is it is how we choose. That's why I've been doing this whole year about emotional intelligence. So people can see these are choices that we make. I talked at lunchtime about this. Where do you invest your time? If you are investing your time in being sick and grieving, that's where you will stay. And so one of the things I say to people, from my experience anyway, Becca, is I have to force myself, get out of bed and go shower. You didn't shower yesterday. You need to shower today. And I give myself a bonus point for doing something that is difficult. Or go to the kitchen and make yourself a decent meal. Forget the fast food or whatever. Do that. Yes, I quite agree, Kimmy. You do need to make yourself get up and do something every day. All right. And so the choice is yours, Becca. All right. You can choose not to shower for 2 weeks if that's what you want to do. If you want to be that dirty. And I'm not going to tell you because I can sit here and talk to you until next Thursday. If you decide that you think it's okay not to have a shower, all right, so after this cast, you plan on making yourself have a bath. That's your choice. Yeah. Yeah. I understand what's hard about it, Nana. I've been there. It's like it's effort. Good. That's what I'd like you to concentrate on, Becca. Give yourself, what do you think? Every other day? How often do you think a clean person would shower? And what I would say to myself, Becca, because that's what I do say to myself some days, if that is all I do today, I need to start by taking a shower. All right. So, I would have a sort of progression of how well am I doing today? Right. And that's why I'm saying every day or every other day. So that's why I think, Becky, you might want to say to yourself, I am going to shower at least every other day. All right. That's what I'm going to do. And you have the ability to control that, Becca, even if you are in depression, even if you are in grief, even if you are in whatever excuse you have. And I don't mean that to tell you that I don't appreciate the space you're in, because I do. But what I'm saying to you is we get to choose every day. All right? What we do with it. So I literally, when I am feeling like I'm starting to go into that depression stage, what I say to myself, and I notice it because, Becca, that's why I say to me, it's a big warning sign. If I haven't had a shower for a day, it's like, hello. Yes, I don't feel like I'm worth being clean or socially presentable. Yeah, exactly, Becca. So, but you get to choose. You can be a slob. You can be a smelly slob if you want to. But only you are going to change that, right? The pills are not going to change that. You have to want to do that for yourself. All right. And so, and by the way, I know you've got a lot of us here on DearMamaSal that support you. And so, it's really important to reach out and say, and let us know. All right. I haven't showered for 2 days now. But don't expect us to feel sorry for you. Know that we are going to come after you and go, why not, Becca? Get out of your bed or your clothes and go shower and get some clean clothes on. Yes, Kimmy's saying that she can now recognize when the depression is coming. Good, Kimmy. That's a wonderful thing to be able to get into that space. It is extremely hard, right? But now Nolene's saying she can't sleep without having a shower now, right? So she chooses not to go to bed until she's had a shower. That's a choice. But Becca, how long do and I've got to say this to you in terms of your growth, right? Which is, you understand, if you want to, you could grieve for the rest of your life, if that is your choice. All right? And it's a great excuse for not doing anything, quite honestly. And so to me, I'm saying to you, I've been on the edge of suicidal thoughts, Becca. I've been there. So I want you to have some hope and say, the question is, how did I get out of it? All right. And so to me, Becca, thank you for talking about it, because it is so important. But what I would do is, who do and I'm going to ask a really awkward question here, Becca, but you know me, I'm pretty straight. Who do you trust the most on Dear Mama Sal? And I know it's not me, but who do you trust the most? Because what I'd like you to do is to start being accountable to that person. The same as I literally am accountable on how much I weigh. Jody, that's what I thought you were going to say. Okay. Now, Jody's trying to help you, I know, quite often. Um, so will you start not wasting her time? Do you know what I'm saying here? It's like, I don't want you to complain to Jody about everything. She's not your therapist, but she will help you. All right. So what I'm saying to you is that the pills help you cope. They will not help you get out of bed and go shower. All right. And so to me, it's like, Becca, do you want to get better? Because sitting and complaining about it is not going to make you better, right? Doing something about it is what's going to make you better. And so the thing I'm trying to say, Becca, yeah, I have a feeling that you do. So how about the only time you get to really talk to Jody, who you trust and cares about you, is, why don't you report in with her every day and let her know whether you showered? Erin saying that she was diagnosed with depression when she was 14. I'm not surprised, Erin. And not many people know that, but I still struggle sometimes. Yes, exactly. We all struggle. Yes, that is, Juliana, that's one of the things I always say to my viewers, right? Which is, don't use the people who care about you to constantly complain about your life. If you want them to help you, listen to them. All right? They are not your therapist, right? What they are is somebody trying to support you. So, with your permission, Becca, I would like to give Jody um, an instruction, but I need you to be okay with it. All right. And that instruction would be that you remember what Linda taught us, that anybody is allowed to vent for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, it's enough. You've vented enough. What are you going to do about it? Becca, can you handle that if Jody does that for you? All right. So you're not allowed to waste more than 10 minutes of Jody's time. All right. Now, if you want to do the same work and only take 10 minutes, I would type out what you're feeling and send it to her, because it'll probably only take her 10 minutes to read it. It's a nice trick, that one, Becca. The other thing is, when you type it out, it helps you clear your mind a bit about some of the things. And so part of it is, but your job now is to actually get out of bed and go shower every day. That's the only, that is the thing. Can you control yourself enough to do that? Yes, and I really have to say that after 10 minutes of venting, if you're spending more than 10 minutes a day venting, then you are actually having a pity party. All right? It's not going to make anything better. Complaining does not make you feel better. It just justifies why you're not showering. Well, I can't shower, I'm grieving, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I want to say something, Juliana. You're so right. You have to let go of the hurt. It's hard, but it's necessary if you want to live. When I say live, otherwise you're going to be in depression for the longest time. I want to say that, Becca, what I would like to see you do is literally, go shower, and then maybe the next day, put on some makeup and send Jody that picture. Look, Jody, I actually put makeup on. Well, if you think about it, talking about what's bothering you deeply should be going to a therapist, not to a friend. All right? When you are in deep depression, that sort of discussion should not be with, that should be with a therapist. Do you understand that? Venting is like, this person really, just got up my nose and I'm angry about it and I just need to have a little vent. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, over, moving on. So where do you draw the line with a friend? You don't do it for more than 10 minutes. That's the line we're trying to suggest to you. If you're spending more than 10 minutes, then you're using this person as a therapist, not as a friend. When Jody says to me, I need to vent, I go, okay, why? Because I know it's only going to take a matter of minutes. She'll go, I'm really angry about this, 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 this. And I go, okay, fine. Yes, it's okay. But you understand, you stay stuck, Becca. You don't bother to go and shower instead. So part of Jody's discussion with you might be, okay, that's 10 minutes, Becca, time to get up and go and have a shower. Yes, exactly. Should we even be venting at all? If you have emotional intelligence, your need to vent will decrease dramatically. All right? If you start being accountable, if you start understanding these things better, I am pretty sure you will find that you don't need to vent all the time. right? You don't need Jody to know every single thought you're having. It's your job to work those out, all right, with a therapist. Because you are in a level of depression that needs therapy, Becca. That doesn't make you weak or whatever. It just means that's where you are. You're not hearing me, Becca. All right. What we're saying is, sure, you can talk to Jody about it, but don't spend more than 10 minutes. Don't make it, a volume that takes 3 hours. Just put it down into, okay, this is really upsetting me now. And I've done the work, I've thought about it. This is why I'm upset, and this is why, blah, blah, blah. But take 10 minutes. Don't take 3 hours. And try. Yes, you are all or nothing. I understand that. But you must remember, Jody is not just helping you, she's helping a lot of other viewers as well. And she's trying to cope with her own stuff. And she's trying to be admin for me. So, I think, yeah, you need therapy. That's being a victim now, Becca. I honestly wish I hadn't said anything about it. That's being a victim now. You didn't get the reply you wanted, so now you feel badly about having even talked about it. I want to tell you that we are all delighted that you talked about it because it's really important to do that. All right? It's just, Becca, all we're asking you is when you do that, all right, do it in small amounts. All right, what is it then, honey? How often do you see your therapist? That is a really important question. Yes, but with all due respect, Becca, yeah, it is really important that you do talk about that with your therapist. That when you feel love come back to you, it's overwhelming to you. That's an important part of the puzzle. All right. But what I want to know is how often are you seeing a therapist? And what the point I was trying to make is that please be careful that you understand the diagnosis you have is important and um, should be dealt with. You don't have a therapist. You tried and it didn't work. All right. So, yes, you do need to find somebody else in a hurry. Right. Because even though you might not like what they're telling you, Becca, they will help you through that forest. They will help you through the jungle. They will, even if you fight them the whole way, all right, they will help you. You just need to keep going, all right, because they will give you the tools you need. I assure you, you can imagine me, Becca, you've known me a long time. You can imagine me in therapy. I can assure you, I would not have wanted to be my therapist when I was going, you know, at that level. Because I really wouldn't have wanted that because I just got really angry and I was really angry. And Juliana, I think that's a very kind thing to remind us all that we are all human beings and as such, we all need love and caring. All right. But they're equipped to give you the tools to help you cope. You see, a therapist isn't just somebody to talk to. They've got a workshop full of tools that they can help you with When you get into this situation, tell me what happens, and then they can give you the tools. Funny enough, when I talk about this between being an enabler or being a friend, I learned that from a therapist, and it stuck with me for the rest of my life. It was so meaningful to me that I literally took a photocopy of it and I kept it with me for the rest of my life to always remind myself that I don't want to be an enabler. I want to be a friend. And so, yes, that is definitely. So let's look at it this way, Becca. So the first goal is to get you showering, all right? Because you're going to need to be showered to go and see a therapist. But you don't need to be showered to phone and make an appointment with one, right? And are you still covered under a medical plan? And Becca, if we didn't believe you were capable of doing it, good. So be very grateful for that. So that's what I would do is, and Jody, so those are the two goals that Becca wants to work on, right? Number one is you are not responsible, Jody, for pushing her to have a shower. That is Becca's responsibility. She gets to tell you how many times she's done it. That's the difference. Do you understand that, Jody? And the second thing is, has she made an appointment with the therapist? I'd like you to be a broken record on that one. Has she picked up the phone and found herself a new therapist? Or has she picked up the phone to get recommendations from the local hospital? Or, what has she done to help herself? All right? Yes, you can go to therapy, and you also can go to group therapy. Have you done that, Becca? I did that. I didn't have the money for private therapy, and I went to group therapy for a while. That you would have all loved to have been there. You know how I was like a lightning rod to everybody in that room. They all went, "Oh, look, somebody I can attack," and they did. Oh, I want to tell you, Juliana, they took one look at me and my accent and my experience in life, and they just went. It was incredible. So yes, let's get that agreed to, Becca. So that's all we're asking of you. Can you let Jody into your life and and have the pleasure of telling her, I had 3 showers this week. Don't lie. Don't bother to lie to please her, because that's not going to help you. Right? But then, and also say, I have now made 2 telephone calls to try and find a therapist. I haven't found it yet, but I am doing the work. Do you understand the difference, Becca? One is being a victim, the other is doing something about it. Yeah. I don't want to push anybody. What I want Becca to do is to want to do it for herself. That she's had enough of being dirty and not looking after herself. And by the way, Becca, I'm pretty sure that when Jody was sitting at whatever weight she ended up at, that she would rather not have showered either. Right? And I'm pretty certain that Kimmy at her worst days didn't want to shower either. So we understand, Becca. We've been there. I know you don't think that we understand, but we understand way better than you think. Way better than you think. You want to get better for you, not for anyone else. Good. So do you agree then that we will hold your hand while you take these steps? All right. Let's work on at least 3 showers a week for the coming week. And let's work on, I am going to find myself a therapist. And all you do is you get up in the morning and you say, have I had my shower yet? Yes, good. I can report that to Jody. All right. And just send her a quick text and say, I have showered. By the way, just so that you know, do you know that I report in to Jody every day, Becca? because I know how important it is. I send her how many hours did I sleep because I'm working on getting more sleep, and I also send her my blood sugar levels, right? So this isn't I don't spend half an hour telling her why I didn't do it. Yes, I do. I've been doing it. Jody, how long have I been doing that? Since December. All right. I don't spend 20 minutes giving her excuses why I haven't done it. I literally get up in the morning, and let's say that I know how many hours I slept, but I didn't take my blood sugar. I will just tell her the good news every single day. Not only that, I keep track of what I eat, and most days I put that up as well. So this is about I am showing Jody that I am trying. At the moment, Becca, I am really struggling to try and lose the weight that I've put on. And it's important for me to lose it because of my diabetes diagnosis, right? So I am really struggling, like you cannot believe, to change my eating habits and things. And just like you, every now and then I don't want to struggle anymore. I just want to go and eat something I shouldn't. The kid in me wins out. And then I have to remember it's time to be an adult, Sal. You need to be an adult. You need to eat properly, or this is going to end up badly for you. Yeah. And I've got at least another 20 pounds to go. And so, right. But I'm trying to make it an experiment, Juliana, being me. It's like, how many things can I play with here and what works? And that's what I'm doing. Jody has helped me understand that a great deal. All right. About that, my blood sugar was great, and then suddenly it went berserk. And when it went berserk? It went berserk when my house sale fell through, unfortunately. So as much as I thought I was under control, I was under control in my mind, but I wasn't under control in my eating. So did I get upset with myself? Yep. Did that help? No. Getting upset did not help me. Doing something correct helped me. I am working pretty hard. And so the other thing that I would ask you, Becca, is what are you doing about eating properly? Are you eating properly? Yes, Kimmy, that is the trick, isn't it? No excuses. This isn't about excuses. Nobody really is interested in the reasons why you didn't have a shower. It's like, did you have a shower? Yes or no? Exactly. So, Juliana, there are a couple of us that have got diabetes and we're working at it. So, welcome to our world. And we all support each other through it because it's not easy. All right. And it's not easy to change the eating habits of a lifetime. All right. So pick one meal that you're going to eat a decent meal a day. All right. That's what I would say. It is okay. I'm going to report in when I've had a shower. I'm going to report in that I had a balanced meal. All right. And I'm going to report in that and report in terms of my progress of finding a therapist. Even if I haven't found one, you can say, and all you need to do, you see, it's very quick. You just go 3 telephone calls to find a therapist, had a shower, had a balanced meal. That's what she needs to know. Oh, Juliana, welcome to our world. This is why we all get together. All right? This is why we get together, so we don't have to do it alone. I assure you that, that's why I get scared when everybody, is going to talk to Jody, because Jody is helping a lot of people. This is while she's coping with lymphedema and all the other things in her life. She does an absolutely incredible job of being an admin and helping the viewers so often. And so, but we've got all sorts of people that do incredible things. Look at Isabel. Isabel went to New Jersey not so long ago, and she knows that that Jody is in a wheelchair and that she can't get to New Jersey at the moment. And so she went and took a video, Juliana, of New Jersey, and then brought it back, sent it to me so I could share it with Jody for her. So round of applause. Jody does an awesome job on all sorts of levels. And as well as this, she's got her own life issues, right? Erin, that is awesome. Your numbers are amazing today, by the way, and I've got to have French fries. Yeah, why not? Actually, funny you should mention the French fries, Erin, because both Jody, Lauren, and myself, and I'm considering having French fries this week, because I really, I really do want to, and I will make them. I will broil them instead of deep frying them or whatever, but I really do feel like it. Yeah, you want to support anybody that needs it, Jody, and I want Brad Pitt, but I'm not going to have him either. All right, so you need to do the 10-minute rule, Jody, to look after you, please. That's what I'm concerned about here. So everybody, wow, we went over time tonight. Just so you know that I just heard today of a death of a friend of mine, and in fact, somebody that I know died in the Philippines earlier today. And so this has been a difficult day for me. And I just wanted to let you know that what I did in order to be able to still do the two broadcasts was to put that emotion into a box in my head. And I will now deal with it now that the broadcasts are finished. And I will spend tomorrow dealing with it in my own way, so that I can, be okay with it. What I'm trying to show you, and Becca as well, which is, I could have chosen to spend the day grieving, but that doesn't help the person who died. And it doesn't really help me at all, because it's not going to make me better. What I need to do is to feel the emotion, and then, but not for more than 10 minutes at a time, and then move on with my life, because that's what that person would want me to do. They would not want me to spend the whole day, the whole week, the whole month, the whole year grieving. And so that is the lesson, in a way, that I want you to see. Thank you, by the way, everybody, for your condolences. It was not a case of if this person was going to die, it was when, right? They had cancer and they've held on for a long time. And, it was incredible they held on for as long as they did, quite honestly. So I personally am in a space where I am glad they're out of pain, and I'm glad they're, have moved on to a better place. It is now up to us to deal with our, legacy. Yes, Nana's also grieving, right? So let's look at the good in the world, right? Let's not look at who is past, let's look at who is left. As the saying goes, don't grieve that they're gone, be happy that you had time with them. All right? And so, Nana, with your friend, I know how much you enjoyed her, and I know that you can, you can be there, and she will be with you for the rest of your life. Becca, I know that your brother will be there for the rest of your life if you want him to be. And so, to all of you, all right, think about where you invest your time and your thoughts. And if you spend 20 hours out of every 24 feeling sad, um, you're not helping yourself, really. Get up and go and do something. I kept saying today, all right, all I have to do is to get to the broadcast, right? And I got to the broadcast, and once the broadcast started, I concentrated on the broadcast. My mind was focused on that. When I finished the lunchtime broadcast, I had some time for myself, but then I needed to prepare for tonight's broadcast, and I did. And then when that was prepared, then I spent a bit more time, all right, on me. But the truth is, grieving is not going to help anybody, really. Right? Not going to help the person who died. I need to just get on and move on with my life. I'm allowed to remember the good times, but I don't have to ruin my life grieving the loss. He would not want me to do that, and I'm not going to do that. So, we are allowed to be sad. We are allowed to spend some time. Don't spend your lifetime. But not grieving is not healthy either. I quite agree. That's why I'm saying, Becca, if you notice what I'm saying is do it in small bits. All right? Are we to half grieve? No. Yeah, I will continue to grieve as long as it takes. I just won't be spending 24 hours a day doing it. All right? I quite agree. Nana's saying grieving takes its own time. And this is the whole thing. But I don't have to spend 24 hours a day of every day doing it. I can spend, if I choose, 10 minutes a day feeling that pain. All right? And quite honestly, then spend the rest of the time getting on with my life. And a good place to grieve is in the shower. Cry in the shower. It's a really good place to grieve. How many of you have found that? You're okay. This is time for me to shower and grieve. All right. And, I find the same thing as, forgive me for this one, I pray a lot when I go to the washroom. Yeah. So you grieve consciously about 20 minutes sporadically every other day versus 23 out of 24 hours that you did for the first 6 months. So you understand what I'm talking about, right? We can minimize the amount of time we spend doing it. Cry and sing in the shower. Yes, I found that when I want to grieve, I can cry in the shower, but then I try to make sure that by the time I leave the shower, I'm remembering the good stuff. Because if I am crying, I am feeling sorry for me. That's what I found out anyway for me, which is if I am crying, that is because I am crying about my loss and what I'm missing. I'm not crying because that person has gone out of pain and has moved on. All right. I'm crying because I feel a hole. And I don't want to do that for more than 10 minutes a day. Right. And I won't. I probably won't even do that. I will grieve. I quite agree with you, Becca. It's really important to grieve if you have those thoughts in you. So we could make this a really sad moment, or we could say, we can do this, people. We can learn to if we need the medication, we can take it. All right. If we need the therapy, I am adult enough to go get it because that's what I need. If I need the medication, right? Nana, if I've got a Baker's cyst, I may not want to rest up and not use it much, but that's what I need to do if I want it to get better. It is my choice whether I'm going to do that. And so, yeah, you can grieve how he left. I understand that, Becca. Nana can grieve for the rest of her life that she was adopted. Do you understand? That's a choice that you make. And Nana it doesn't come up every day for Nana, but it does come up quite regularly still. All right. Even at her age, she is still grieving that. And so I respect that. And, it's like she will carry on grieving that as long as she needs to. All I'm saying is it will not change what happened. And it will not help you be happy. Part of you needs to talk it out. There is no thing as normal grief, Becca. All right? But you also, want to have a look at, is it time for me to move on with my life? Yeah. So why do we even talk about it as if it does? As if it what? As if grieving helps? Yes, I want to tell you, the thing that really astounded me when I heard that my mother had passed, Becca, my reaction was not to grieve. My reaction was, thank goodness. It was the most peculiar feeling. And people looked at me and went, what? I said, thank goodness. She spent 4 years being bedridden. I am so happy for her. I don't think that grief can be normalized. I think, I'm not saying anything about curtailing your grief. I'm saying make sure that you live your life. All right? Spending your life not showering, not looking after yourself, not putting your makeup on, not getting dressed, that is not grieving. All right? That's not, and to my mind, that's not grieving. That's depression. And so I don't think there is a normal way to grieve. We each have our own way. How long is it now since your brother died, Becca? Yes, exactly, Juliana, because she was suffering and I knew she was free from the suffering. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It wasn't about me and my loss. It was about her and that she was free. I'm glad you understand that. Thank you. Erin is saying that she feels that she's already grieving her dad more. So, yeah. And you're doing that grieving now, yes. And I think it doesn't mean that you won't hurt when he passes, Erin, but you are living in reality. You know it's coming. You know it's hurting. You're getting ready for it, right? You are doing the best you can. I am very proud of you for doing that. Yeah, and Becca, a year and a half, right? And you're saying that you're not grieving 24 hours a day anymore. You're just doing it in smaller amounts. That's growth. Well done. And everybody will tell you we all do it a different way and we all spend a different amount of time. I have to tell you, although it doesn't, not going to impress anybody here, but I grieved the loss of Bean Bean more than I grieved my mom. I know that sounds terrible. When my mom passed, I was happy for her. When Bean Bean, my dog, had to be put down at 8 years old, I grieved that. I was expecting him to be with me for at least another 8. I really had problems with that. Becca, when I got dumped in a relationship, I spent 5 years grieving. Believe me, I know what that can do to you. All right. And so, Erin, one of the things that's really important is that you're in reality. And I really, really admire you for that, right? You know it's coming. He knows it's coming. You're doing the best you can. All right? You're doing the best you can with each day, and you know it's still going to hurt. That is quite okay. Becca, I want to tell you that if you're managing not to be consumed by this 24 hours a day, that's improvement. If you are down to only feeling it a couple of hours a day, that is, you're well on your way. But I think you will feel it for the rest of your life, the same as Nana will feel it for the rest of her life, the same as I will feel some of my grieving for the rest of my life. There isn't anybody here that doesn't understand grieving. I'm pretty sure absolutely everybody in the room has had reason to grieve. All right. And so, but get the help. That's the one thing everybody has said to you, Becca. Get the help. All right. Because if you are still hurting this much after a year and a half, and you've already been diagnosed, you do need the help. It's not that you're weak or stupid. It's you need the tools to help you get through this. And we are not qualified to do that. All right. However much we want to, Becca, we cannot do that. You need a therapist. All right. Now, I need to go and do some grieving of my own. So I want to thank you all for being here and for looking after one another. I want to, Becca, thank you for being smart enough to come in and talk the reality. Well done. And please keep in touch with Jody and let her know your progress. All right, that is the goal, right? Let her know your progress. That's what she's going to be, be your biggest cheerleader. Sharon saying in November, it'll be 10 years since my husband died. And in 10 years, I've lost 13 family members. Yes, Sharon, you know all about grieving. You say very little about it, but you know all about it. Juliana Owls, how nice to meet you. And congratulations and thank you for being here. Please come back. We're back on Sunday for Soul Sunday at 3:30 Pacific time, just so that you know. Please, if you can, Juliana, follow us on Facebook, DearMamaSal on Facebook, and also on Twitter. And that's where I put up the announcement that I'm about to go live. All right? And thank you for participating, Juliana, to the level that you did on your very first visit. That is amazing. And we thank you. We had another viewer pop in at the lunchtime broadcast, and whose name I can't remember. The last part was B. What was the first part? Trixie B? No. It was like Trixie, but it wasn't. Maybe my other brain. We'll see if Jody can remember what it was. But she also came in and was participating beautifully, and it was great. So thank you all for being here for one another. Becca, I pray to God that you, Trinksy, that's right, Trinksy. I knew it was difficult. It wasn't quite tiny. It was tiny with an X in it. But then it had B at the end, B-E-E at the end, right? Trixie B, Trinksy B. Very difficult to say for me. All right, everybody. So do the best you can, whatever journey you are on. All right. We cannot expect Becca to understand Jody's journey, or for us to understand Nyasha's journey, or Sharon's journey, or for you guys to understand Erin's journey at the moment, or even Sal's journey at the moment. What we can do is know our own journey. And that's all that we need to cope with, really. Our job is to do our own journey, and hopefully we will find some support to help us do that. I'm very proud of you all. Thank you so much. We will see you on Sunday for some of you. If not, catch the replay. And remember that we never know who we help just by telling the truth. And that's why I really want to thank Becca for telling her truth, because I know a lot of people will relate to what she's saying. Jody, I think you will inspire so many people. To lose 100 pounds in a year is amazing stuff. And to Nyasha, who continues to learn and grow, well done. Keep doing what you're doing. And to everybody else, let's do this our own way, our own time. Becca, there is no right time. There is just your time, whatever time it takes you. Please do not compare yourself with anybody else. All right? So big hugs to you all. We'll see you on Sunday. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, look after one another. But please, please, please look after yourself. I did see that, Nyasha, and I'm sorry to hear that. Bye-bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye. Maybe.